Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video where today I'm going to be giving you my immediate initial thoughts on Can You Hear Me, episode 7 of series 12 of Doctor Who, of course. It just aired, it finished literally 5 minutes ago, so this is just my initial brief, what I kind of thought straight off the bat about this episode. It's definitely one I think I'm going to need to re-watch to kind of give a more full opinion of, but yeah, we'll get stuck in with my initial thoughts. So yes, this is quite an interesting episode actually. I think generally overall I quite enjoyed it. There was a lot of interesting and kind of confusing stuff in there that I think is why it kind of needs a rewatch. I really liked the idea of having these two immortal characters who were feeding off people's nightmares and just basically playing a game and having fun feeding people's nightmares. I thought that was a really cool, creepy Doctor Who type idea, which I thought worked quite well. I know one of the main things that's probably wrong, not necessarily wrong with this episode, but a bit weird about this episode is the pacing of the story, where it feels kind of quite rushed through a lot of it. We rush to a sudden conclusion and then have a very slow 10 minutes at the end with some character moments, which are nice, but it feels quite kind of elongated and slow compared to what we've just seen when most of the story basically gets resolved. They suddenly get transported into this orb that's held in between these two planets that are about to collide, and that's it, they're trapped for eternity at the end. It was a slightly kind of rapid finish, which was a bit bizarre. And I'm not quite sure about all the Aleppo stuff. It didn't seem to quite make that much sense why we were going there particularly. Like, why did he decide to go and get this girl and torture her dreams? And maybe I'm just misconstruing everything that's going on in the episode, but I can't quite understand why that was actually necessary and part of the plot, really. I do think that this episode did a really good job of tackling mental health issues and tackling around sort of loneliness, depression, things like that. It felt like it really did it in a very, in a clear way, but not in an obtrusive way where it was very much hammering it down your head. I feel like people will still moan because it's got a message in the story again, blah, 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 and it happens every week, blah, blah, blah. But I felt like it was really, really well portrayed and well done. We finally got some character and backstory for Yaz, which I think was really, really good, showing why she became a police officer, basically, and the kind of story behind that I thought was really effectively done. I'm still a little bit confused on some of the flashback. I'm confused about the whole anniversary thing. Like, maybe I'm just not understanding quite what's going on, but what was the anniversary she was coming for? Was it just the fact that it was 3 years since the moment that she met this police officer? I don't know. I was kind of confused. So if you know, let me know in the comments below. I might have just missed it during the episode, so please do tell me. But overall, I thought it was really nice to just give some more backstory to Yaz as a character. But then the very intriguing conversation between Ryan and Yaz right at the end of the story in the TARDIS, when it sounded kind of like Ryan wants to leave, really, and kind of wants to get back to a normal, real life because he feels like he's progressing faster than the people around him and is just completely changing as a person. He doesn't really want that, I think. I don't know, it just, for me, it feels like a little bit of foreshadowing for later in the series where maybe there'll be, or at least Ryan I think will be got rid of, maybe Yaz as well, but I guess we'll have to see on that. I think the concept of feeding on people's dreams in this episode was really, really cool and worked really, really effectively. It meant that we were able to sort of split off each of the companions again, like we did in the previous episode, and gave them a little bit more to do. Each had their little scenes about sort of memories from the past or the future, or their nightmares, basically. Another cameo for Grace, of course, in the dream, which was quite nice and quite sort of effective of what is Graham's nightmare, basically. I thought that was really well construed. Another hint to the Timeless Child, of course, with the Doctor, and seeing this young girl who we briefly saw in her flashback in her mind in Spyfall Part 2. Not gonna lie, I think that that's the Doctor and the Timeless Child is going to be the Doctor. That is just my theory. Like, it feels that is just kind of added to that, given that it's her nightmare, it's what she is thinking, or what's hidden in her mind, basically, is this child who surely has got to be the Doctor. It doesn't make that much sense for it not to be, I feel like. But who knows, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I thought that, yeah, that was just a really effectively used concept in this story, and I felt like Ian Gelder's character, I can't actually remember his name, was it Zellin or something, who was this immortal being, he was really quite a cool villain. I thought he was really sort of had that screen presence, the creepy hand lifting on his fingers thing was so cool. I love that idea. It was really, really creepy and just crazy and classic sort of Doctor Who style, I think. And then also that animation sequence he got was really, really interesting. We've never seen anything like that in Doctor Who before, of sort of basically explaining part of the plot in animation form. I mean, it looked visually amazing. Maybe that's not the best way to tell a story, but it was kind of just like so we can quickly get up to speed with what's going on between these two, what turns to be two immortals, of course, who are just playing a game with each other, basically, and just messing around with humanity because they're immortal and got nothing else to do. Obviously, it means they could come back in the future if they ever escape the orb thing, but I don't really know how they could do that now. But I wouldn't mind seeing them again in the future because it'd be they're just quite interesting. Or certainly the Gelder character Zellin was quite a cool, interesting villain, I think. But yeah, as I say, it's not a story without flaws, at least on the first watch. As I say, the pacing did feel a little bit off. It was sort of, I did like that we had a cold opening for the first time since Spyfall Part 1. It was nice to see that finally we came good on Chris Chibnall saying some episodes will have cold openings, some won't. We went from the first one having it to then none until episode 7, so kind of not really so much of a some do, some don't. But I thought it worked quite well. It sort of felt more of a classic Doctor Who type scene where there's a weird monster chasing somebody around and then sort of screaming at her basically at the end of the scene. And quite an effective looking monster, I think, there. Obviously CGI'd, but I thought that was quite a good creation. Then finding out that was actually just the nightmare that she'd created in her head, I thought was really quite clever as well. Just sort of giving credence for why this monster doesn't exist and doesn't make any sense. It's because it's just a nightmare created by this girl, which I thought was really, really a great idea, I think. And honestly, apart from the pacing being a bit off, I didn't really think there was that much wrong with this episode. It didn't necessarily feel super exciting throughout, I think was probably one of those things. It felt more of a talky episode with not necessarily as much action fulfilling the episode that we've maybe seen in some previous ones. It maybe fell foul a little bit of the show don't tell problem where they love to talk about stuff and do exposition but then not actually show things in an episode, which I felt was at times maybe a little bit of a problem this episode. It wasn't catastrophic by any means, but it just happened at points I felt like maybe they should have taken a little bit more time and shown us things happening a bit more, and it just might have been slightly more effective. Even stuff with the orb and seeing these two colliding planets, it was all just a CGI big wide shot, and we didn't really get down stuck in on Earth, or even seeing people who are being invaded by having their dreams invaded on Earth as well. I thought would have worked maybe a little bit better. So yeah, there were just little things like that, but I didn't feel like it ultimately detracted massively from the story. I thought really this is just a sort of thing that Doctor Who could actually do. It just felt such a kind of wacky, weird, outside of the box type idea for a story that just only really Doctor Who could do, while also throwing in some serious mental health messages in there as well, which will really effectively weaved into the plot in not a on the nose, mental health is a big issue, you guys need to know about it type of way that we've seen with other political issues in these episodes previously in this series, shall we say. But yeah, I felt like it was just portrayed so much better in this episode, and so combining wacky weirdness of Doctor Who with real life issues like this, I think is a good thing for Doctor Who. I know people are going to complain, but I think it's a good thing for Doctor Who. I think that it's something that's important to talk about, and that's what this episode's all about, really, about talking about it. And sort of about that feeling of isolation and loneliness and things, which is something the Doctor obviously struggles with as well, I think, at points. We kind of notice that and get the, I guess, sort of shows of that early in the episode when she keeps on turning up on her own and starts talking to herself because she's so used to having friends around, and kind of feels that moment of, oh, what do I do now when I'm not with my friends and everything? And I think it was just that kind of initial subtle messaging of that before it comes a bit on the nose with Yaz later, or not on the nose, but a bit clearer with Yaz later on the episode, and Graham to an extent as well, I thought. So yeah, there were just some really nice kind of plot lines around that interweaves into the episode, which I felt worked really, really effectively in this story. As I say, this episode is definitely going to require a rewatch to fully understand exactly what happened and just give more full thoughts. So I'm pretty certain I'll have a proper review of this episode tomorrow, but I just kind of wanted to get my initial thoughts. Here's what the episode is all about from my initial opinion, and overall I really enjoyed it. But as always, guys, do let me know in the comments below, what did you think of this episode? Did you think it was quite good? Did you think it was disastrous? Did you think the message was too on the nose? Did you think it was all fine and really effectively done? I'd love to hear your comments down below. But apart from that, as always, hit that like button and subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you again tomorrow for a brand new video. Goodbye.